You are on The Faction. This guy is slowly becoming one of the sexiest guitarists on the planet, and I have no shame in saying that. And he's Aussie too. Goes by the name Plini. He's just released his instrumental album, Impulse Voices. We've already had a taste of it with the song Papalillo. It's like prog rock meets children's TV show tune. It's eerie and soothing at the same time. We'll unpack that in a few minutes. Let's talk to Plini. Plini, thank you for speaking to The Faction.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and I think I'm going to have to start using the word sexy in my press release.
I've got no shame in saying that. There's something sexy about the way you play guitar. Before we talk about the new album, I want to talk about your time at the Steve Vai Academy. What were you teaching?
So he's run the Vai Academy a few years, and it's basically like a 5-day retreat with a bunch of different instructors who all do lessons on different things to do with playing guitar and writing music and all of that, and then a bunch of jam sessions at night. So I was going through composition and a bit of guitar stuff, and just sort of hanging around being totally out of my depth, and it was wonderful.
Was there anybody walking through those fields or those halls that astounded you?
There are actually a lot of awesome guitarists. Like every night we would have an open-ended jam that because I was teaching all day, I wasn't really required to be there, but I ended up staying till like 2 a.m. most nights just playing with random people who'd come because they're all, unbelievably good.
Before we do talk about that album, one thing I know about guitarists is that what's more special to them is usually their first guitar, more special than for everybody else's first kiss. Can I get a little bit of a story about your first guitar?
Yeah, sure. My first electric guitar, I think, is the more special one. I got it for my, 11th birthday. And it's a terrible, terrible, cheap copy of a Stratocaster, which is, I guess, where most people start. And I played it for a few years before I eventually upgraded to a more serious guitar. But I still have it, and at some point in my teenage years, I drew Darth Vader on a pick gun with a permanent marker. And then a few years later, I removed the frets, and I did a really terrible job. So I have the world's only terrible fretless Darth Vader guitar, I think.
I'm not saying it's a collector's item, but I'm still saying it's got some sentimental value. I want to talk a little bit about this album. In particular, the song Papalino. How do you name an instrumental song, and in this song in particular?
So I've got a list of different words and phrases in my phone that I just collect just at any time to eventually use a song name. And I noticed that a lot of people around Sydney have bougainvillea, the plant's flower, like just growing. And I really liked it, and definitely didn't want to call a song bougainvillea. Obviously, bogan is not the kindest word among Australians.
In some parts of the country.
Yeah. I went on a Wikipedia expedition looking at bougainvillea and then came across Papalillo as the Peruvian Spanish name for the flower, and then thought that sounded a lot more pleasant.
How many?
And then when I released the song, I found out from a bunch of Spanish-speaking listeners that they use that word to describe the papers they use to roll a joint.
You're a good influence. How many instruments are you playing on this album?
Mostly guitar. There's a lot of other stuff that's programmed in, so I guess the computer's doing most of the hard work after I tell it what to do. I played a tiny bit of keyboard, but mostly left that to Dave McKay, who's an amazing piano player. But yeah, pretty much guitar and a bunch of other noises.
Is there anything else, Plini, that you think people should know about you in particular, or about this new album? And do you have a message for your listeners heading into 2021?
Just I hope you dig the album, and I hope you're all happy and healthy.
Plini, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for speaking to The Faction today.
Thanks, mate. Have a good one.